Welcome in to the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter, and I'm joined as always by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Balls on Twitter. What are you up to, you big Tennessee homer?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, man, I'm in a great mood, Shane. You hit me up. I don't know if you think I was kidding or what, but no, I've been at the bar drinking with our buddy, old Ty Richardson up there, ESPN Arkansas. He's in town, so wanted to stop by for some lunch, and one thing led to another, and I'm a couple deep, so I'm ready to talk some football.
Yeah, I pulled you away from the bar. Usually it's the other way around, Mike. So you're like, do I have time for another round? I was like, well, let's go ahead and do this before we get carried away.
Well, speaking of getting carried away, Shane, let's just get right into the action because we got a fun idea. We're going to be able to hit on all 14 SEC teams. Of course, it's game week. We got Vanderbilt, Hawaii.
Yeah.
We are literally days from SEC football, so we're going to talk some Vandy football here in a minute. We got a great Vandy guest lined up. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's going to come out Thursday or Friday. May hold it back for Friday just to be more of a preview, but be on the lookout for that. But, hey, man, talking about getting outrageous here. Did you see Nick Saban got him a contract extension today, Shane?
Yeah, I think it's till he's 94, 95. Is that what it is?
Yeah, so Nick Saban, the highest paid coach, he deserves it. I mean, he's the greatest of all time. He signed through 2029 through the season. It's actually 2030, but the contract runs out in February 2030, so it's through the 2029 season. And I just think it's hilarious, Shane. Kirby Smart wins a national championship. He's the highest paid in the nation.
Yeah.
Alabama turns around and says, hell no, he's not. Nick Saban's the highest paid coach. And, hey, this is just the battle of not that these guys don't deserve every penny they get, particularly Nick Saban and Kirby Smart, but
yeah,
it is just hilarious to see them jockeying for that top salary spot. You know what?
Well, I saw that. So I was joking about the age, but this thing's supposed to run out when he's 78 years old, Mike. And I got to ask, do you think he hits it? Is Nick Saban still coaching Alabama at the age of 78 years old?
Hell no. I don't think so. Now, we've been putting him in the retired category for about 5 seasons now, so I'll probably be dead wrong, Shane. But, I mean, it's not like he's really slowing down too much. I give him a little bit of hell for, Alabama's defense has not been the juggernaut they were several years ago, but hell, that offense is high-flying, and they get quarterback after quarterback. And I even wonder if, this is something that we talked about, Shane, when Arch Manning committed to Texas. Is there whispers out there that the Manning family knows he's not going to be around for 4 more seasons?
Right.
I don't know. Maybe a contract like this eases the mind of the next 5-star, number 1 overall quarterback they go after, you know?
Yeah, well, it's being brought up in all the living rooms across the country that Nick Saban may not be around for the next 3 to 4 years. But I just don't see it, Mike. I've been trying to retire this guy for half a decade now, and I don't think it's going to happen. And I don't know if you saw this, but I thought it was interesting. NASCAR. Did you see the sponsorship with Alabama here?
No. What's going on with that?
Yeah, so I saw, it was just minutes after we heard the Nick Saban thing. NASCAR is apparently going to be sponsoring the entire Alabama Crimson Tide athletics department this year. It was a 1-year deal, so it could be longer, but it's the first time it's ever happened. And I just thought, I never thought of it we know this is a business, but is this the next evolution? We see all these NIL deals and all these kids getting paid, and now you got the athletic department saying, wait, why are we getting no scratch? So you can afford to pay coaches more money and things. So I just thought that was very, very interesting. I want to see how this plays out. And we may get to the end of the year and not even notice. You may just seen a couple of NASCAR ads while you're down there in Tuscaloosa, but I don't know, man. It could be opening up the doors for the next stage of college football.
Well, I'm just glad things are finally going right for Alabama. You know what? They
Yeah. Well, Well, and NASCAR's trying to save. You know, they're trying to build their market, and there's not a better wagon to hook up to than Alabama, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, hey, someone that's trying to be the next Alabama, Shane, is the Florida Gators, Billy Napier, coach under Saban's, coach under Dabo. And I just want to hit on this real quick, but did you see there's a photo, the team photo is out, and there's about 300 people in the damn photo because they have hired, 140 plus staff members down there. They basically, the team photo takes up an entire section of Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. I mean, it's the most wild team photo I've ever seen. You know what?
Oh, I love it. I'd not seen this photo, so let me just pause it here for a second because I'd like to see it.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
Introducing your 2022 Gators football team. Golly, Mike.
I mean, there's more coaches than players.
I think you're right. I think we'll put this on the Twitters here in a little bit. So if you're curious and want to see the photo, but you are absolutely correct. There are more blue shirts than there are jerseys lined up there. I love it, man. You know what I'm saying? Build it. You know what I'm saying? Just surround yourself with people that want to be there. The more the merrier. I doubt all these people are even getting paid. They may not even be working for them. It's like bring your wife to work day, or something like that. That's the only thing I can guess. But the more the merrier. Have them down there because they're building something, Mike. They're building a new family. You start that with coaching staff. You start that with relationships. And how many times have you seen some coaches go to the next level that started as a quality assurance guy, or an analyst for it's, not really getting paid, but then, gets the opportunity. We're watching one off Hard Knocks, the coach up there in Detroit.
Right.
That's how he started. He didn't start out coaching. He just worked his way up. So I think this is good, man. Establishing a large base of staff, not just players.
Yeah, 2 coaches for every player. What could that's going to result in something good. You know what?
Absolutely. If you got your eyes on, because somebody may see something that the other coach isn't. So, like you said, more eyes on the field ain't a bad thing. But that's a lot of opinions in the locker room, though.
Staying in the East, Shane. Let's kick it over to Columbia real quick, where this is probably going to be the final chapter, the final content we could squeeze out of this, but. Shane Beamer, during his latest media availability, asked about these Mark Stoops comments, and I thought it was pretty interesting, so let's kick it over to him.
And also, have you talked with Mark Stoops since last week that whole thing happened?
Question 2. You had to the layup on the first one before you came in with that one, huh? I have not. I have not talked to Coach Stoops, no. I saw the quote from SEC Media Days on Marty and McGee. I saw the statement that he made last week. I appreciate Coach Stoops saying that it wasn't directed at me. Like I said on an interview the other day, I have great respect for Mark and his program and the Kentucky program. I know when the basketball coach at Kentucky made the comment that he did about the football program, that Mark said that he stays in his lane, so I can't imagine he would have gotten out of his lane to direct a shot at me. And I said it the other day in an interview, Mark was very complimentary of our program before we played them last season. And in fact, 2 or 3 of his assistant coaches came up to me during pregame warmups last year to comment on the culture of our program and how impressed they were with it just from watching videos on social media and things like that. So it is what it is, and he's got his program to worry about, and I've got mine to worry about. But no, my respect for him is still high in that program as well.
All right, Shade. So, hey, maybe even a little jab here from Beamer directed to Stoops, noting the old Calipari controversy. But what'd you think of these?
Yeah, one last blow. That's what that was, and all you married couples know. We all have been there, as married couples. You have that little spat or you said something you shouldn't have. Like, I'll never forget one time my wife was asking me about mashed potatoes that she made. I said, they're good, I said, Mom, they're not as good as Mom's, but they're pretty damn good, and that didn't go over so well. So when I'm going in for the second helping, it's like I got that comment. If it was so bad, then why you getting another helping? So that just felt like one of those one last shots, one last gets, and we can put this thing to rest.
And again, I cannot wait for this game. Already, we're ready for any football, but suddenly Kentucky, South Carolina's got all new meeting this season, don't you think?
Oh yeah, stay in his lane. Man, that's just, what I'm saying? That's that one comment you say, oh yeah, Stoops better stay in his lane. Yep. That's what he's saying. So, yeah.
And
anyway,
on the last episode, Shane, we were talking about the SEC moving closer to that 9-game conference schedule, which would give you 3 permanent rivals. Well, Texas A&M's AD Ross Bjork was recently on Texags. A show I know well there, but
did he get his ass chewed?
He did not, Shane. But what he had said, based on his comments, we don't have the clip here, but just really what I really wanted to share with the audience. Again, he suggested it's moving towards a 9-game model as well, and kind of the key thing there. He says for A&M, Shane, if they move to a 9-game, what they are being told their 3 permanent rivals would be Texas, which would be fantastic. LSU, which, there's a budding rivalry there. And then Mississippi State. So I think if you're an A&M fan, I think you're pretty happy with, I know Arkansas, maybe you'd want them in there, but heck, you can't do a whole lot better than Texas, LSU, and Mississippi State as your permanent rivals, I would think, in the SEC.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. The Mississippi State one, I think that was just one last, we got to make it even.
Right.
We can't give Texas A&M everybody because you want to, but I feel like that's what that was. But man, this is going to be nice. Seeing that Texas A&M game again, fired up, brother. Even as a kid, not even a fan of that conference, that's a game I still watched because it was such a heated rivalry. So to have that one back, yeah, I'm all for it.
And I don't know if he was actually reporting this, Shane, but I did read an article from a guy who's been covering the Oklahoma Sooners for a long, long time, Barry Trammell. He does a great job. And he was kind of saying that it sounds like to him Oklahoma and Alabama would play every year in this 3-6 format. So, all of a sudden, that obviously be a new rivalry, but that'd be a pretty interesting matchup, don't you think?
Yeah, that'd be something. Obviously you would think Tennessee and Auburn would be the other two there. So, that's a tough little schedule. I know right now, Bammers, they're on top. They're on cloud 9. Ain't nothing going wrong. We'll stay up here forever. But there's going to come a time, man, when we've been saying this for 20 years now, but I'm just saying there will come a time when these pods, may mean a little bit more. And I think if you have Oklahoma and Tennessee, these are both storied programs that have a pattern of going down and coming up. And, I think that can make for some great TV, man, is watching that. So I'd love to have it. I think it's unusual. I think there's 3 other teams I would probably put with Oklahoma, but I'm not going to argue Alabama being one of them.
Yeah, and the way Barry Trammell wrote it, Shane, he said, would Alabama mind playing Oklahoma every year? And he said, well, hell, Godzilla don't mind who he's eating every week.
Put it on a T-shirt, man. I love that.
But all right, hey, Shay, before we get to the show topic here, just real quick, it is game week. Vanderbilt is already in Hawaii, Shane. They're preparing to face them Rainbow Warriors in that high school stadium. So we got some comments here, Shane. I didn't even realize this. This is a fascinating stat. Hawaii has got 53 new players of its 85-man scholarship roster here. So 53, well over the 50% mark there. New faces for Hawaii.
Now, I got to ask, so, that's a lot of faces, Mike.
Yeah.
Are we talking, not all freshmen, right?
I would imagine it's a mix of freshmen and transfers, but this is the new NCAA rule to where, hey, if you don't got 85, you can sign as many players as you need to get to that 85 limit. So, hey, Hawaii is clearly taking advantage of that rule. You know what?
How easy would it be to recruit? I mean, if I think about that, Mike, if you had a guy that's going to Wichita State or something, just pick up the phone and say, do you like Hawaii? Do you want to live on this beautiful island that us old farts try to get to every year with their wives? Yeah, sign me up. I think that would be the easiest. So I'm kind of curious. This is like a poor man's Ole Miss. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but I still think it's a tall glass of water coming up for them flying Hawaiians this year.
Yeah. So let's kick it over to Clark Lee real quick, who talks about getting there to Hawaii. Shane, he says they had to wake up at 1 a.m. Nashville time the first day to get acclimated and really facing a unknown with Hawaii because, hell, you got 53 new players. You got a new coaching staff. There's a lot. We are hearing the buzz that on that island, they are fired up about this game.
Absolutely.
They're fired up about this team, the challenge of facing all that.
So we've seen a little video from your first practice. I'm just curious. On Monday, the day after you guys get there, what was it like tempo-wise, energy-wise, all that stuff as you get acclimated?
Yeah, it is an adjustment. And I think for all of us that woke up at, 1 a.m, raring to go yesterday morning, you realize your body needs some time to acclimate. I want to just compliment Vanderbilt, for, and Candace Lee, her leadership for getting us here. I really feel grateful to be here because, we want to be at our best come kickoff on Saturday night. And it does take time to adjust. As far as the energy goes, we had a shorter day of work intentionally just because we knew the trip would take a physical toll and obviously a mental toll as well. But it was spirited and I think the guys were excited to be out here. I think the change in scenery is a boost. I think it's something that they are excited about. And we had a good day of work. Today will be important. Today will be a typical Tuesday for us where we'll be in full pads and we'll be competitive. And so, it'll be here now as we're getting acclimated, important that we get connected to our typical routines.
You've had more time to look at Hawaii, with all that roster turnover and the coaching staff turnover. What are you expecting in terms of the type of team, stylistically that you're going to play?
Well, they're going to be tough and they're going to be, we're expecting a fight. This is a proud program. They've been to bowl games 5 of the last 6 years. They won 10 games in 2019. They beat 2 Power 5 teams that season. This is a well known to be a challenging place to play. I think the unique nature of the environment that we're in now is going to make it especially challenging. Obviously, their head coach is a Hawaii legend and a guy that there's a lot of energy around on the island and in support of his the early build in his program. And so again, you got a prideful group that's got an opportunity to play against an SC team here to open the season at home. They're gonna be up for the fight, and we're gonna have to really be. I said this before, but beating the trip's important. Like staying focused and winning in our preparation's important. This week, we have a number of activities that we're doing to try to connect our team to this culture and environment to make sure they get something out of the experience beyond just playing a football game. And, we're going to have to be really good at creating boundaries for ourselves where we're laser focused when it comes time to prepare for Hawaii, but also, have the chance to, let our hair down, even though I don't have that opportunity any longer. In the end, by the time we get to Saturday, it's about, self-mastery and our ability to find our highest level and then focusing our energy on defeating the opponent. And there are a lot of steps for us to get to Saturday and feel like we're going to be at our best. But Hawaii's tough. They're prideful. They've got energy around this new coaching staff. We expect them to come out swinging, and we're going to have to not just answer that, but we're going to have to step into the arena ready to ready to be at our best from the very start. And for us as a young team that's, still building out our identity, that's going to be a challenge, but I'm excited for it. And I think our team is excited for it. And, I know they're ready to play against another opponent. I'm sure Hawaii feels the same way. So it'll be a fun way to start the season.
All right, Shane. So again, hey, Clark Lee and them Commodores already on the out. I think it's a great move that they went out a week early to get acclimated because there's real danger, obviously with the time zone and the travel and everything, of just not being fully prepared. And we know that derailed Vanderbilt really early last year. So, getting there early, getting prepared, getting ready, and experiencing, because obviously they didn't get a bowl trip last year. So it's almost like a bowl trip to start the year. It's got to be a hell of a lot better start than they had last year when they lost to old ETSU.
See, all the coaches got together on this one, Mike. He says, you need to go in there. Tell them we need to be over there a week early so we can just get used to the time zone. That's what we'll tell them. That's straight out of Shane's playbook right there, brother. I've been trying to get you to buy us a ticket to Hawaii for a month now. So clearly we're not going to be doing a live show, and that's Mike's fault. But anyway, I know I joke, but I just think it's funny. It's like, would you be doing this in Idaho? I mean, with the time change and everything, you'd probably be like, well, we should probably go there like 2 days early.
Right.
Stay at the Holiday Inn Express or something. But now it's like Hawaii. We should be there half a month early because we got to get acclimated with the weather there in Hawaii.
But all right, Shane, the show topic for this episode, we really love to hit on all 14 teams if we can.
Yeah.
But we got to come up with creative ways to do it. And I think you're going to like this one, Shane. One thing that we are just dying to see from each SEC team this fall. So this will give us an opportunity to hit on every single team. How's that sound, brother?
Yeah, that sounds awesome, man.
And I'll go right off the bat here, Shane. Alabama, there's a lot to pick from with the Crimson Tide. But for me, I'm dying to see this running back, Jahmyr Gibbs, that they got from Georgia Tech. So much buzz, so much hype. He's a do-it-all running back. He can obviously run out of the backfield, but also catch. He can line up in the slot. Hearing a lot of Alvin Kamara buzz, a lot of dark horse Heisman buzz. If he's as good as they say, I mean, not that Alabama needed more help, but they may be unstoppable on offense.
Oh, that's a good one, Mike, and it's one that I questioned because I still think it's going to be somewhat of a committee back there, but I may be wrong. Gibbs may take the world by the balls, and may be a potential Heisman candidate. It's been a while since we had a running back. I mean, he's in the perfect system for it. I can see it, and there's a lot of excitement and buzz coming from camp about him. So, I mean, it just seems like it's lining up. But for me with Alabama, Mike, what I want to see is just freaking attitude. Here's a program that was think about they only lost a couple of games and they are just pissed off. It's this whole, even when they were at the media days, it was we left a lot on the field and they don't want to make that same mistake again. So my big one, Mike, is just attitude. There's been plenty of games that you go in and Alabama's up 30-40 points by halftime. I'm expecting that this year. I'm expecting them to make this a statement because they were just told Georgia Bulldogs are better than them. Shane was down there telling them Texas A&M's better than them. Not that they lost any sleep over that. But there's all these programs out there, that they keep making these cute stories that this is the next Alabama. But I want to see just how pissed off these seniors are, how pissed off these upperclassmen are, how pissed off the Heisman winner is. And I want to see it brought to the field, and I'm just curious how it plays out, man. Do they play it safe, or do they go balls to the wall and we look back and say, damn, that's one of the best Nick Saban teams I have ever seen?
Now, how about for the Arkansas Razorbacks, Shane? For me, it's these receivers that we keep hearing all this buzz about. Matt Landers, Jadon Hazelwood, Warren Thompson, Keyshawn Jackson. I'm even throwing in the tight end Trey Knox. I want to see what these guys bring to the offense. We're so high on what the Razorbacks can do, but the confidence I'm hearing with this group is making me think the Razorbacks can take that to another level. And hell, I said I was hanging out with Ty Richardson, Shane. He's making plans for the SEC championship game. I mean, they're all jumping on the bandwagon right now. The high hopes for the Arkansas Razorbacks. So for me, I'm dying to see these receivers and if they live up to the hype, because if they do, my goodness, I think Arkansas could hit another level.
Man, that's a good one. Maybe I should have went first. You're stealing all the good ones here. But I am going to piggyback off that. One of the comments you made here recently is the Heisman hopeful, KJ Jefferson. And when you think about Heisman quarterbacks, there's always one or two games that they really show up to. I think of the Cam, the Cam bag. I think of all these. I think of Johnny Football. Yep. Just some of these amazing quarterbacks that came through the SEC. They all had those moments, and I think in that little bunch of the Alabama, the Texas A&M, Mississippi State, we're going to have one of those games. And can KJ do that? He's got talent. We're hearing glowing remarks of these wide receivers. I think this defense is going to be better. I think that they've got all the tangible pieces to make some real noise in the SEC, but there's still going to be some games that is going to come down to the arm of KJ. And can he be that Heisman candidate? Can he take the game over? And that's what I want to see is just a Heisman moment. Does he have it in him?
Yeah. Now, how about for the Auburn Tigers, Shane? For me, this may be a little too easy of a prediction or what I want to see, what everybody wants to see, but I need to see the progression from TJ Finley, Shane, because I think we were all expecting him to at best be the backup, particularly, heck, just a couple weeks ago he got arrested. I thought at the time, I was like, well, there goes his shot, but by all accounts, I mean, he's taken this offense over. He knows the playbook better than anybody. He's the leader on the field, and he has got to take that next step up, because if he's starting because they just a lack of options, so to speak, which I'm not saying that's the case, but if that is, Auburn's going to be in real trouble. Whereas if he has truly taken the next step in his game, and this is a guy that even when he was back at LSU, Coach O was saying this guy's an NFL quarterback. If the light has turned on for him, so to speak, Auburn could be a very, very dangerous team. So that's kind of where I got my eye on TJ Finley and his progression.
Yeah, I've got a couple things I'm looking for with Auburn, and some of it's fan related, brother. We've talked about this on past shows. The locker room was divided. The boosters were divided. Mm-hmm. But this fan base never really gave up, and that's what they're going to need. They start out the season, 4 games in a row at home. Is that how many is it 4 or 6? How many is it?
I think it's 6 of the first 7.
Yeah, so think about that, Mike. 6 of the first 7, and if we can make the Plains a hostile environment, that's what I want to see. Is forget all the noise, forget the firing, forget the hot seat talk. Just, take advantage of the moment and the fact that you've got that many home games right out of the gate. Mm-hmm. Make it a dangerous play. I think that's what I want to see is just the buy-in from the students, buy-in from the fans. I also want to see, Mike, just somebody else pop up. How many times have we watched an Auburn Tiger team and we thought this was a down year? They got this guy, maybe this guy. I feel like that's what we're doing now. It was like, well, we've got the tank, but, we still don't really know how the receiver room's going to play out. We need somebody to really step up and be the other guy, or to be the other guys, plural. They're going to need some help, and they're going to need some of that talent that we're not talking about right now to step up. So who is that? That's what I want to find out. Who's the next best great Auburn Tiger to come out? So fans, and I need a little help. I need a little hope in that program, and we're going to get that, I believe, Mike, with some of their weapons that we're just not familiar with right now.
And I pulled up the schedule, Shane. It's the first 5 games at home and 6 of the first 8 at home. So, I mean, any way you slice it, that's a hell of a slate for Auburn.
Yeah, I said 4 to 6, so I should have took the average there. So 5, the first 5 games, if you can win the first 5 games. Think about that. You just got to get one more and you're in a bowl. And I don't think that's going to make people happy, but that's going to keep Brian off a hot seat.
Right.
And you do that by creating a loud environment. And I think they can do that, man. I think they can create that momentum and that buzz. But it's going to take a lot of people working.
Yeah. Now, how about for LSU, Shane? There's a lot of unknowns with the Tigers. We were talking on one of the recent episodes, this defensive line and how touted it is and everything. I want to see how that unit comes together in this new defensive system under Matt House. Not that I have any doubts about them, Shane, but you got to remember they're playing Florida State in the opener. And Florida State, from what I understand, is one of the top rushing attacks in the ACC. Their quarterback set a record for all time rushing yards in a single season. So they're going to be tested right out the gate. And then week 3, Mississippi State comes to town. That defensive line has got to take over if they're going to defend Tiger Stadium and beat Mississippi State. So of all the things to kind of be locked in on LSU, for me, I want to see this defensive line and how dominant they are.
Yeah, I want to see. Out of all the quarterback controversies floating around the SEC, this one is really tight, Mike. I really do think that we see both these guys play. So if I'm thinking about what I want to see, not only do I just want to see what this offense looks like, I want to, we've seen Coach Kelly, we've seen him play at Notre Dame every now and then, but with SEC talent, what does he do down there in Baton Rouge? That's what I want to see is I don't know, just the next chapter. I mean, because face it, you're stuck with this guy for a few years, Mike. So how quick does this offense change? We saw what Heupel did when he came to Tennessee. He quickly reversed this thing. But we've also seen coaches come in, and it's been a slow go of things. Right. So how quickly is this a Coach Kelly offense, or is it going to be a hybrid this season? But honestly, that all boils down to quarterback play, and I want to see who he picks, and do we see both of them? Because I truly think that this is one of those Jaden's getting the hype right out of the gate, but I think Nussmeier, it's going to be tough to keep him off the field just because he is a very, very talented quarterback. And how does that change the offense, and how does he use it together? We may have 2 quarterback situations, so that's my main thing, is just quarterback play and positioning.
Now, how about for Ole Miss, Shane? Again, that almost the same deal as LSU. So much unknown, so many things you could be circling in on. But for me, it's the guy I've been hyping up like no other, the tight end Michael Trigg. I want to see how Lane Kiffin utilizes the standout running back, as well as I'm going to throw in the running back, Shane, Zach Evans, Ulysses Bentley, the 2 transfers that looked incredible in the spring game. I want to see how Lane Kiffin meshes all these new toys on that offense, which, hell, we don't know who the quarterback's going to be, but as long as he's getting the ball to these guys, they should be just fine there in Oxford.
Yeah. Also, I want to see momentum. Here's a program that's got a lot of players that have never played together, and they got a very favorable schedule right out of the gate. How does that continue when they hit Kentucky? Is this team going to be hitting on all cylinders? The good thing about a guy like Matt Corral, he was a true team leader. He was a guy that was a coach on the field. And I don't know how that plays out this year at this moment. Now, we may be 2-3 games in. We can identify some of our leaders on that side of the ball, but is it ready when SEC play comes in? So that's for me, is I just want to see how quickly this locker room gels, how quickly the offense gels, the defense gels, and because if they're working as one unit, then they're not going to make those boneheaded mistakes that some of these other programs have made in years past. So that's for me. A lot of new faces. Everybody's didn't know each other. It's like new kid at school. You don't know him. You don't know if he can hang out with you just yet. But they've got to have it going by week 1. They've got to have it going, but definitely before SEC play. So just how quick does Coach Kiffin bring these boys together?
Now, how about Mississippi State, Shan? We keep hyping up the Bulldogs like no other, but one aspect of the team we can't overlook is that offensive line, and losing both starting tackles. And, in Leach's first year, that was just such a nightmare. They couldn't get the blocking down properly. We all know how often they throw the ball down there. So if they can't pass protect, I mean, all of a sudden, Mississippi State's high-flying offense is stuck in neutral. So, that may be a little bit of a boring answer, but everywhere else, I feel like they're experienced, they're loaded, they're bringing everything back. It's all about that offensive line for me.
Yeah, well, it's all about offense for me. Will Rogers, this is a guy that's not getting enough hype. This is a team that's not getting enough hype. You do that by punching the conference in the mouth, and I think that's exactly what the Pirate and company can do here. So I want to see it cut loose, man. I want to see 600 yards passing in a game. I want to see everybody getting touchdowns and the high flying that we were expecting down there at Mississippi State. This is when it comes to fruition, Mike. And so I just want to see Rogers take that next step and be a true captain on that field. I know I've referenced this a million times, but when I saw that interview with him and Gardner Minshew, and he said there was just a time when he knew he could let him play, and if you could do that with Will Rogers, think about it. I know it's just 2-3 seconds, but if you can give him enough time to do that, I mean, you can catch defenses off guard. You can just really put these guys in a tough spot, and that's what Will needs to do. So just the next evolution of quarterback play here, because I really, out of all the quarterbacks we talked about, man, you want to talk about a Heisman candidate at the end of the year, Will Rogers could be that guy. He could easily be standing on that podium, and he's just got to cut they got to cut him loose, let him play.
Yep. All right, how about A&M, Shane? I mean, loaded roster, but the one group that they've even had talent, but the production has not matched it in my mind, receiver. I am dying to see this Evan Stewart in action, number one receiver, MVP of the camp there in spring, living up to the hype. They're saying he's unguardable. I know they got Anaya Smith, but what do they got? They've got some nice pieces around that core, but still waiting for a number one to emerge, and I know he's a true freshman, but the hype suggests that Evan Stewart could be that next dominant receiver in the SEC. For me, it's all about Evan Stewart, because whoever the quarterback is going to need some receivers to step up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is good. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of hype coming out from Texas A&M, all positions, especially on that offensive side. And with that, Mike, becomes high expectations. Mm-hmm. There's times when A&M gets lost in national championship contention because they're not fun. They really aren't. There's some times when they let some of these programs hang around till half, or they win by 2 scores, and they can't have that, Mike. This isn't that year. This isn't that roster. This isn't a team that we should go into a Miami game saying, well, I think they're a 2-point or a 2-score favorite. No, they need to be a 30-point favorite. They don't go to Arkansas and say, well, this is a 50-50 game. No, if you're really a championship football program, there should be no doubt you come out and you beat the Razorbacks. That's where I think Jimbo is. And you've had arguments down there with the Tex Ag guys, and they tell you how good everything is. Well, is it? I think it has been okay, but they're still, you look at 2020, 2021, there was a lot of games that shouldn't have hung around. It shouldn't have come down to a score with Colorado State or Colorado, it shouldn't have been a halftime, 1-score ball game with some of these shit teams that they've played. This is a Texas A&M team that should be up 3 or 4 scores, just like we talk Alabama. When we joke about, well, it's going to be 40-0 at half, that's exactly what Texas A&M should be doing when they play some of these joker teams. Yeah. So I don't know. I want to see aggressiveness. I want to see aggressive calling. I want to see aggressive offense. I want to see just beat the brakes off some of these teams, because when it comes down the end, you may have one loss, and we got to make an argument for you to get in the college football playoffs. We can't do that if you just beat Miami by 7. We could do that if you beat the shit out of them. But so that's just me. It's a little personal because I know they've had better teams in the past, but that's what we got to see in 2022, Mike. We got to see them Aggies come out and play football. Like, if you want to act like you're there, like you've arrived, then play like it.
Now, jumping to the SEC East, Shane, Florida Gators. A lot of unknowns with the Gators as well. But for me, I really want to see this defensive front seven and how they hold up against the run. They're talented, but they're thin, particularly on that defensive front, Shane. And right out the gate, of course, they got Utah and Kentucky, two of the most physical teams in their respective conferences that love to run the ball. If Florida does not man up and they're soft, they're going to lose both these games. I mean, that's the way it is. But can this new coaching staff do they have them ready to play? I believe they will. But again, it's just a guess until we actually see it.
That's Mike. I think you hit the nail on the head there. Florida Gators for me. I've got to see these boys. You know, I know it's a rebuild. Oh shit, Mike, my camera went out. 1 second. Let me switch batteries. All right. Yeah, it's probably gonna be like a different angle, but fuck it, we'll figure it out. All right, there we go. There's your clap. Pod shouldn't be this hard, Mike. You know, it shouldn't. There should be one camera that runs all the way through. It automatically uploads. I don't have to mess with it and create files, become freaking Bill Gates over here and figure out computers. You know, it shouldn't be that way. This whole setup, it looks great on camera, and that's debatable, obviously. I need to lose some weight. But behind the scenes, this shit's just glued together, you know, and it's just a matter of time for something fails, and then I'm just like, you know, I don't want to do it anymore. You know? Oh, if we weren't family, Mike. All right.
You were talking Florida Gators and how they need to man up here in the opening games.
Yeah,
Kentucky.
That's me, Mike. Nobody likes rebuilding. Rebuilding's no fun. It's not sexy, but you know, how many times you just can't afford to get behind. And I think that's, as a Gator fan, that's what you're afraid of. You don't want a 4-year rebuild. That's not what you do in Gainesville.
Yeah.
Gainesville's one of those that, we had a bad season, we got a new coach. All right, we found it. Throughout the season, going into year 2, we're in good shape. That's what they need. And that means they can't get blown out by teams like Utah. And I know Utah's got a lot of hype, and you've heard it. But I've watched videos. I watch videos of Utah, and then I watch hype videos of Florida Gators, and I'm like, you know, we're built different down here in the SEC. And and obviously they got a good quarterback and whatever, but we just can't lose by much, or we can win. I really can't see the Florida Gators winning this thing. I'm not calling an upset, but I'm just saying, if they do, or if they hang around and they beat a team like Kentucky or they beat a team like Tennessee, then I think you're okay. You're in the path. You're on the path of quick rebuild. But if you fumble and you're 3-4 games in and you've lost 3 of them, then all of a sudden it's like, well, can we hold on to these recruits? Is this going to be a longer rebuild because nobody wants to play for a losing team? So that's one of my things. It's just more like momentum, but not like winning momentum, just progression momentum. And I think that's what all fans want to see, is just hit the ground running.
Now, how about the Georgia Bulldogs, Shane? For me, it's all about this offense, Stetson Bennett. I want to see them take that next step. And, hey, we sit here and say, you know, is he the new Nick Saban?
Yeah.
This is what Alabama does. I mean, they lose a ton on one side, and then what happens? The other side is elite the next year to catch up as they don't rebuild in Athens. They reload. I want to see them to do it. I know they got a difficult opponent right out the gate against Oregon. You know, they are massive favorites, so I'm not sitting here saying they're going to get upset, but they need to come out here, set the tone early, and they are just loaded on that side of the ball. I mean, the offensive line's getting hyped up. They got the best tight end room in the country. They've got running backs. They got receivers. Stetson Bennett's been in college for 16 years. I mean, this should be one of the best offenses in football.
And I hate to say it, but go back to Utah. It's like they got all this credit because they beat Oregon twice. And then Oregon gets credit because they beat Ohio State like week 2 or something like that. Those teams aren't the same at the end of the season. And to just say Utah's that good But all right, I digress. We'll save that. We'll save that for. That's just a little preview of Florida-Utah game. But who are we talking about? Georgia. Georgia. Here's the thing with Georgia. It is just. I mean, what do you say? What am I looking for? Obviously, I'm looking for balance, man. I'm looking for, obviously, they lost a lot with the defense. Who steps up, blah, blah, blah. We all get that. But what I'm really looking for, Mike, is does this team take a step back? There was a lot of people that didn't want to face the Georgia Bulldogs last year just because they were afraid of that defense. What are they going to be afraid of this year? Are they going to be afraid of the offense? Are they going to be afraid of just the team in general? You know, that's the thing with Alabama. The reason that nobody wants to play Alabama is because they got that little chip on their shoulder. We called it the red team as a Tennessee Vol fan. You remember that? We did the red team, and then they just beat the brakes off of us. That's what Georgia, they're creating this they're making themselves, they need to make themselves bigger than they really are. So people are afraid to play them. So if you do have problems or you mess up along the way, you can easily rebound. And I guess that's what I want to see from the Bulldogs. I want to see a lot, Mike. I know I keep rambling here, but I just want to see, I'm always afraid of a hangover. I get, is that crazy to say?
No.
Like, yeah, LSU did it. LSU came out, one of the greatest teams ever, and then they looked terrible the following season. Mm-hmm. So is that what we see with Georgia, or are they truly like the next Bama or the Nick Saban Alabama? It's just, I don't know. I just want to see them continue down the path that they're already on. But you can stumble out of the gate, and that's what you can easily do, even though I just shit on Oregon, but that's a team that you can't afford to mess around with. You can't play with your food. You got to come out here and eat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now, how about Kentucky, Shane? One thing I don't know. It baffles me that I think we just take it for granted because all they do down there is produce great offensive lines. So we just sit here and say, oh, the offensive line will be good, but they lost their 3 best offensive linemen. They got a new offensive line coach. They got a new offensive coordinator. How does this line mesh together when, again, I know they got 3 very, very winnable games right out the gate, but they got that trip against Florida that looms so large. So for me, I'm dying to see how this offensive line comes together and if they really are just kind of plug and play down there.
Yeah, and I think an easy answer, too, would be Will Levis and his progression. Is he truly a NFL top pick, you know? But I think it's defense, brother. I think Kentucky should have won more games last year if that secondary would have tightened up. So does the defense take that next step and they don't have to win the games. We're not asking Kentucky's defense. We're asking them to keep it close so that Will Levis and company can take the lead. That's what we're asking. And I know it's a tough ask, but you know, that's what you built up there. This is a team that also isn't rebuilding. They're just reloading. They you know, promote from within, if you will. It's like the next guy up there in Kentucky, and that's what they've really been good at. But I felt like this defense at times went on snooze, you know, and they just can't afford to do that. If they're really going to be in the upper echelon of the SEC East, they're going to have a really good defense to stay in some of these high-shooting ball games that they're going to find themselves in.
Now, how about Missouri, Shane? I mean, to me, this was a no-brainer. I want to see Luther Burden, the 5-star freshman, walked on the campus, day 1 starter. You know, he certainly looks to be worth all the hype. He's got his own damn potato chip up there, Shane. Give me Luther Burden. That's what I'm dying to see for the Tigers. How about you?
Yeah, I want to see the next best running back.
Yeah.
Missouri has quietly, and not just Missouri, but Coach Eli, everywhere he's been, he's put some running back in the NFL. And they've been able to do that last 2 seasons there in Mizzou. So who's the guy? Yeah, we've gotten used to them just handing the rock to somebody 20, 30 times a game. Is that what we're going to see this year? Is there going to be one guy to step up, or are they going to stick with a committee? Obviously, you want to see who's that quarterback, but that's not the bread and butter right now. That bread and butter is the running game, and I want to see what does that look like now that Beatty's gone.
Now, how about for South Carolina, Shane? There's so many new pieces here that'll be, you know, Spencer Rattler, the receivers, or running backs. But I really want to see Because I think adversity could hit early, Shane, when they travel to Arkansas. They host Georgia. That's week 2 and week 3. And then they got a tricky Georgia State in the opener. I want to see how this team responds if they start a little slow and how these new pieces fit into Marcus Satterfield's offense, because I got all the faith in the world in these players, but still I got questions about their offensive coordinator. Now, I've said it many, many times this offseason. You'd be amazed how good of a coach someone is when they got all these elite pieces to work with. They didn't have it last year, in my opinion. So I think he is a much better coach than he showed last year, but he's got to prove it. There's no more excuses.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, talking about a frustrating coach at times last year. Now he does have the weapons, like you said, no more excuses. But it's been all roses here in the offseason, Mike. We've seen the hype reels, we've seen the fans. There's a lot of people on cloud nine. I can't imagine. Every time I see Rattler, they remind me of how many games he's actually lost. You know, what does this team do if it hits turmoil? What do they do if they hit a speed bump? Can this program bounce back? Can Shane Beamer and company bounce back? Because they got some tough asks, tough gets right out of the gate. And if they fumble, I've seen it with young staff where they find themselves in a spiral, or, you know, they were on cloud nine and then all of a sudden the training wheels came off and they realized they can't ride the bike. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what do we see here with South Carolina? What do we see with the upperclassmen, the leadership, when shit gets real? Because it gets real quick. That Arkansas game is no joke. And if they lose that thing, does this team spiral, or do they bounce back, or do they win the game? I think a lot of it may even be halftime adjustments, which Coach Beamer's been, you know, pretty good at. Do they start out? You know, that's one thing he talks about working on is starting out of the gate strong, not fumbling and jumbling until you get to half and then make those adjustments. So I don't know. It's just the whole turmoil. Just can they fix it if something goes wrong?
Now, the team you've been waiting for, Shane, Tennessee Vols. For me, I'm dying to see this pass rush, if they can generate more of that this fall, in particular, because 3rd and long just absolutely killed the Tennessee Vols defense hell, we were at the Ole Miss game. How many times did they have them in 3rd and long? And damn, Matt Corral extends, you know, he gets one more yard than they need. It happened about 25 times that night. Have they corrected that? Can they fix those issues? Because if Tennessee can get off the field on 3rd and long, they are going to be a very, very dangerous team.
I think my memory card just ran out, Mike.
Okay.
Well, it's a long pond, so I thought, man, for sure we were going to make it all the way through to this one, but apparently not. Shane rambling so much, we weren't able to get this one done. So I'm sorry. Tennessee Vols, that's usually what happens. We talk. Okay. Here's the thing. Here's what I'm looking for, Tennessee Vols, is completing games. I'd say the opposite of South Carolina is there was a lot of games last year we were able to not only have the lead, but just like not even close. Like we were just far and beyond. And then all of a sudden we found ourselves letting teams eke back into it. And then all of a sudden it gets serious there at the end, or even losing. So I think my biggest one, Mike, is now that we've got all these guys coming back, how do we close out games? Did we learn anything from last year? Do we just, if we can put up 100 points, we put up 100 points? I think that's what Tennessee Vols are going to have to do. They're just going to have to keep scoring. So I guess a couple things I'm looking for in doing that is just keeping our quarterback healthy, and the offensive line. You know, we've had a couple question marks here in the offseason, but does the protection look better this season? Because I think if you can keep Hooker healthy, we may have a fantastic season here in Tennessee. But if he's running for his life or he's holding on to the ball too long, then it's going to be a long go, and he could get hurt again. So I say all that to say this. I'm saying it all, man. I think I was drunk at the bar. I'm just rambling here. But the fact of the matter, Mike, is I want to see Hooker stay healthy and us close games.
Yeah. All right. Last but not least, Shane, Vanderbilt. For me, I want to see if they're ready to play this year because they weren't last year. We've had a week-long vacation in Hawaii. Does that focus the team? Does we've got them out of their element? Maybe they're locked in, or maybe they come into this thing casual because held no respect for Hawaii. 53 new players on the roster. Clark Lee didn't have his team ready, or maybe they were just terrible last year. But whatever the excuse is, should never have got blown out by ETSU. They get blown out against Hawaii here. I'm going to have some serious questions about the future of this program. So I need to see this team ready to play right out the gate.
Oh, I'm going to double down with you, Mike, because I think that's the key. This Coach Lee, they're talking about him getting 3 wins, 2 wins. It's like, just come out and play. Yeah. This is a team you should beat. All eyes are going to be on you. You're the only SEC program on TV. So take advantage of those eyes. Take advantage of that news because we're going to need something to talk about when we come back, the following week. And we could be talking about how great Vanderbilt played. So this is your chance to audition. So if you're asking me, just out of the gate, how do you start?
Yep. All right, brother. Well, hey, we went long on this one. Your camera died 6 times during the recording. Memory card filled up, battery filled up. Anything else you got to say before we close this one out?
Yeah, see, Tennessee start out great, and then we wind up fumbling it here at the end, No, it's game week, baby. Like I said, and I'm going to be saying for the rest of the week, I'm pumped up about some action that's actually going to be on our TVs.
Yep.
I'm trying to get everything ready, and that's what we've been doing. We've been trying to work out the kinks, and I will tell you, long, loyal fans out there, new followers here, we got some pretty exciting stuff going to be rolling out next week, so be sure to keep an eye on the podcast. You could do that through Twitter, you could do that through any radio, Spotify, Apple, all that stuff, but also on YouTube. Make sure you got those notifications on. It doesn't take but a second to subscribe, but we got some pretty cool stuff rolling out this season, and we want you guys to be a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, Shane. I appreciate you. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you for checking us out. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys. Go Vols. Cranked up again. There's your clap. Speaking of, what's John up to? Just kidding.